Just a few minutes ago, Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmad, issued an official statement about new offensive launched by Tigray Defense Forces in western and southern Tigray. A very important statement. It seems that Ethiopian government has declared second phase of this war on Tigray. PM of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmad, says that Ethiopian government will repel this offensive by rebels and that TPLF is an existential threat to Ethiopia. And we were waiting for this statement, viewers, because since yesterday, pressure was building upon Ethiopian government after Tigray Defense Forces captured Alamata and Koram. Amhara leaders were putting pressure upon Ethiopian government. We saw two statements yesterday. First statement from Agagneho, who is president of Amhara region. Agagneho had called upon Ethiopian National Defense Forces to join Amhara forces in their fight against Tigray fighters. Then we heard from Nama, National Movement of Amharas. Nama had accused a faction in Ethiopian government of backing TPLF. Nama had said that a faction in Ethiopian government had handed over Alamata and Koram to TDF. So pressure was mounting upon Ethiopian federal government. That is why Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmad, has announced that Ethiopian government will repel this offensive by Tigray Defense Forces. Now, viewers, Ethiopian National Defense Forces have also issued a statement. Colonel Gatnet, who is the spokesperson of ENDF, has issued a statement. He is saying that Ethiopian National Defense Forces are ready. They are waiting for an order from Ethiopian government and Ethiopian leaders. Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Colonel Gatnet, says that what would be our strategy, where we will hit. We do not want to disclose these things, but we are ready. So, almost 2 weeks ago, ceasefire was announced in Tigray views. But now, when Ethiopian Prime Minister is announcing that it's ready to repel this offensive by TDF, it means there is no ceasefire now. Officially, ceasefire has come to an end now. What we can discuss now is what are operational capabilities of Ethiopian National Defense Forces. Can they handle this renewed and strong offensive by Tigray Defense Forces in southern and western Tigray? We saw views that Ethiopian National Defense Forces suffered some heavy losses in central Tigray when they withdrew from Tigray. We saw that several divisions of ENDF were destroyed, their military equipment was seized by Tigray Defense Forces. So it remains to be seen, can Ethiopian National Defense Forces take on TDF now or not? I think Prime Minister of Ethiopia will mobilize regional forces from Oromia and from Afar. So it's not that just Ethiopian National Defense Forces will launch a counter-offensive against TDF. Prime Minister of Ethiopia will have to use regional forces of other regions of Ethiopia. And we have some evidence that since yesterday we have been hearing that more than 200 buses carrying Oromia Special Forces have arrived in Afar. In Awash, a town of Afar, I shared a video last night showing buses carrying Oromia Special Forces arriving in Awash. Then 2 days ago we heard about Somali region's President Mustafa preparing to send his soldiers to Tigray. So I think that now we could see more involvement of regional forces in this war. When this war started on November 4, only Afar and Amhara regions were involved. On the November 4, regional forces of Amhara, Afar, ENDF and Eritrea, they launched offensive on Tigray. But this time, if another offensive is launched by Ethiopian National Defense Forces, we could see more involvement of regional forces. We could see regional forces from Oromia, from Somali region, from Amhara obviously, and another phase of this deadly war could start in coming days. I've been saying for several days, viewers, that Volkayat, Humera, Tsagade, fighting here could be very deadly. International community must intervene because fighting here would be ethnic in color. That is why deadlier and dirtier. But international community just kept on issuing statements. It kept on putting pressure upon Ethiopian government, but it did not do any meaningful thing to find a way out of this crisis. That is why once again Ethiopian federal government and Tigray government are on the verge of a new war. Viewers, if this new war starts and Ethiopian National Defense Forces, they decide to carry out airstrikes and they launch a ground offensive, believe me, it could be a deadlier war which could be make or break for Ethiopia as well. Already Ethiopian Federation has been weakened by this war, and if this new phase of war starts, it could be a decisive phase, a decisive moment for this country. Let's see what happens. Tigray Defense Force, they are advancing. They captured Alamata, they captured Koram. Though Getachew in a statement said, we are in hot pursuit of our enemies. We won't let our enemies regroup and reorganize. But we did not see any considerable movement of Tigray Defense Forces inside Amhara state. So far, they have taken control of only Koram, Alamata. Then they advanced on Western Front. They captured Mesabre, which is in Salamati region. So we haven't seen Tigray Defense Forces advancing into Amhara state. So far, they are trying to take control of entire Raya, which they have taken. And now they want to advance towards Volkayat, Sagade, Humera, the areas which are the main areas, disputed areas between Tigray and Amhara. Yours coming hours are very crucial. We could see launch of airstrikes by Ethiopian National Defense Forces against Tigray Defense Forces in coming hours. I think the first step by Ethiopian National Defense Forces would be to launch airstrikes. Though up till now when I'm recording this video, I haven't heard so far of any airstrikes against Tigray Defense Forces anywhere in Tigray. But in coming hours, if Ethiopian federal government is sincere in launching a war, a new phase of war, we could see airstrikes on Tigray Defense Forces in western and southern Tigray. Let's see what happens. Thank you for watching.